Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English with Ease. I'm Megan, and I'm absolutely thrilled that you've decided to spend some time with me today. If this is your first time here, welcome to our community of passionate English learners. And if you're returning, thank you for being part of this incredible journey we're taking together. Today, we're diving into something that could completely transform how you experience English. We're talking about training your brain to think in English. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking right now. Megan, that sounds impossible. How can I possibly think in a language that isn't my mother tongue? Trust me, I completely understand that feeling. It might seem like an overwhelming challenge, especially when you're still working on building your vocabulary or getting comfortable with grammar rules. But here's the thing that I want you to know. This isn't just possible. It's actually one of the most powerful skills you can develop as an English learner. When you start thinking in English, everything changes. Your conversations become smoother. Your comprehension improves dramatically. And most importantly, you'll feel that confidence boost that comes from truly connecting with the language. Think about it this way. Right now, when you want to say something in English, what happens in your mind? Most likely, you're forming thoughts in your native language first, then translating those thoughts into English before you speak. This process creates a delay, and sometimes it can make conversations feel clunky or unnatural. But imagine if you could skip that translation step entirely. Imagine if English thoughts could flow directly from your mind to your mouth, just like they do in your first language. That's exactly what we're going to work on today. By the end of this episode, you'll have practical strategies that you can start using immediately. These aren't complicated techniques that require years of study. They're simple, everyday practices that anyone can incorporate into their routine, regardless of their current English level. I want to share something personal with you. When I first started learning languages myself, I struggled with this exact same challenge. I remember feeling frustrated because I knew the words, I understood the grammar, but something was still missing. It was like having all the ingredients for a recipe, but not knowing how to combine them naturally. The breakthrough came when I realized that language learning isn't just about memorizing vocabulary or mastering grammar rules. It's about rewiring how your brain processes information. So whether you're just beginning your English journey or you've been studying for years but still feel like something's holding you back, this episode is designed specifically for you. We're going to explore why thinking in English is so crucial, how your brain can adapt to this new way of processing language, and most importantly, we'll walk through step-by-step methods that will help you develop the skill naturally. Let's start by understanding what thinking in English actually means. When I say thinking in English, I'm not talking about forcing yourself to use complicated vocabulary or perfect grammar in your head. Instead, I'm talking about allowing English to become the natural language of your inner voice. It's about reaching a point where English feels comfortable and automatic, not forced or artificial. Many students make the mistake of believing that thinking in English means abandoning their native language entirely. That's not true at all. Your first language will always be an important part of who you are. What we're doing is adding another layer to your thinking process, creating space for English to coexist naturally with your native language. This process happens gradually, and it's completely normal for it to feel strange at first. Your brain has spent years, maybe decades, thinking in one particular language. We're essentially teaching it a new habit, and like any habit, it takes time and consistency to develop. The beautiful thing about this process is that once it begins, it tends to accelerate. You might start by thinking simple thoughts in English, like describing what you see around you or planning your day. Then, gradually, you'll find yourself processing more complex ideas, emotions, and even dreams in English. It's like learning to ride a bicycle. The beginning requires conscious effort and concentration, but eventually, it becomes second nature. Now, you might be wondering why this is so important. After all, if you can communicate in English when you need to, isn't that enough? Well, let me explain why thinking in English can be a game changer for your language learning journey. First, it dramatically improves your fluency. When you think in English, you eliminate that translation delay I mentioned earlier. Your responses become quicker and more natural because you're not spending time converting thoughts from one language to another. This leads to smoother conversations and more confident communication. Second, thinking in English enhances your listening comprehension. When your brain is accustomed to processing English thoughts, it becomes much easier to understand what others are saying. You start picking up on nuances, understanding context more naturally, and following conversations with greater ease. Third, it builds your confidence in ways you might not expect. There's something powerful about feeling comfortable in a language at the thought level. It means English isn't just something you do, it's something you are. This psychological shift can transform how you approach conversations, presentations, or any situation where you need to use English. Finally, thinking in English opens up new opportunities for learning. When you're comfortable processing thoughts in English, you can enjoy English books, movies, podcasts, and conversations, not just as learning exercises, but as genuine entertainment and enrichment. The language stops being work and starts being pleasure. Throughout this episode, we're going to explore practical techniques that will help you develop this skill. We'll talk about simple daily practices, effective exercises you can do anywhere, and strategies for overcoming the common obstacles that learners face along the way. Most importantly, we'll make sure everything we discuss is actionable and realistic for your busy life. Remember, this isn't about perfection. It's about progress. Every small step you take toward thinking in English is moving you closer to the fluency and confidence you're working toward. So let's begin this exciting journey together and discover just how naturally your brain can adapt to thinking in English. The first technique I want to share with you is something I call the narration method. This is probably the simplest way to begin training your brain to think in English. And you can start practicing it right now, wherever you are. Here's how it works. Throughout your day, begin describing your actions and surroundings in English, but do it silently in your mind. When you wake up in the morning, think to yourself, I'm getting out of bed. I'm walking to the bathroom. I'm brushing my teeth. When you're making breakfast, think, I'm putting bread in the toaster. I'm pouring coffee into my cup. The coffee smells wonderful. This might feel awkward at first, and that's completely normal. You're essentially giving your brain a new job, and like any new responsibility, it takes time to feel comfortable. Start with simple present tense descriptions using basic vocabulary. Don't worry about using fancy words or complex grammar. The goal is to create a habit, not to impress anyone. What makes this technique so powerful is that it connects English directly to your immediate experience. Instead of thinking about English as something separate from your daily life, you're weaving it into every moment. Your brain starts associating English words and phrases with real actions, real objects, and real experiences. As you become more comfortable with basic narration, you can gradually expand your descriptions. Instead of just thinking, I'm drinking coffee, you might think, I'm drinking hot coffee from my favorite blue mug. The coffee tastes bitter today. You're not just stating facts anymore. You're adding details, opinions, and observations. The second technique builds beautifully on the first one, and I call it emotional thinking. This is where we move beyond simply describing what you see and do, and start processing your feelings and reactions in English. When something makes you happy, instead of just feeling that happiness, try to articulate it in English in your mind. Think, this music makes me feel relaxed, or I love the way the sunlight looks through my window. When you're frustrated about something, instead of automatically processing that frustration in your native language, try thinking, this traffic is really annoying, or I'm feeling stressed about this deadline. This technique is incredibly important because emotions are such a fundamental part of how we think. If English only exists in your mind for practical, functional thoughts, it will always feel foreign and mechanical. But when you start processing emotions in English, the language becomes part of your inner world in a much deeper way. I remember when this technique really clicked for me while learning Spanish. I was walking through a beautiful park, and instead of thinking about the scenery in English, I found myself thinking, "Qué hermoso día." What a beautiful day. That moment felt like a breakthrough because Spanish had moved from being something I studied to being something I felt. The third technique involves what I like to call mental conversations. This is where you practice having discussions with yourself in English about topics that interest you. You might be thinking about a movie you watched, a book you're reading, or a decision you need to make. Instead of processing these thoughts in your native language, try working through them in English. For example, if you're trying to decide what to have for dinner, don't just think about it automatically in your first language. Try thinking, what should I cook tonight? I have some vegetables in the refrigerator. Maybe I could make a stir fry. But I had that yesterday. Perhaps I should try something different. These mental conversations help you practice the natural flow of English thinking. You're not just memorizing phrases or vocabulary. You're learning how thoughts connect and develop in English. You're practicing the rhythm and patterns of English reasoning. The fourth technique focuses on planning and reflection, and it's one of my personal favorites. At the beginning of each day, try planning your schedule in English. Think about what you need to accomplish. what you're looking forward to, and what challenges you might face. At the end of the day, reflect on what happened, also in English. Morning planning might sound like this in your mind. Today, I need to finish that report for work. I also want to call my friend Sarah. If I have time, I'd like to go for a walk in the park. I hope the weather stays nice. Evening reflection might be, today was productive, the meeting went well, but I felt nervous during the presentation. I am proud that I spoke up during the discussion. Tomorrow, I want to be more prepared. This technique is powerful because it connects English to your goals, your experiences, and your personal growth. You're not just thinking in English about random topics. You're using English to process the things that matter most to you. The fifth technique involves what I call sensory thinking. This is where you practice describing not just what you see, but what you hear, smell, taste, and feel, all in English. When you're cooking, think about the sizzling sound in the pan, the aroma of the spices, the texture of the ingredients. When you're outside, notice the temperature of the air, the sounds of traffic or birds, the feeling of the ground under your feet. This multisensory approach helps create rich, detailed connections between English and your actual experience of the world. It makes English feel more real and immediate, not just intellectual or academic. Remember, all of these techniques work best when you practice them consistently, but without putting pressure on yourself to be perfect. Some days, your English thinking will flow naturally. Other days, it might feel forced or difficult. Both experiences are completely normal and part of the learning process. The key is to be patient with yourself and celebrate small victories. Maybe today you successfully narrated your morning routine in English, or you processed a frustrating moment in English instead of your native language. These small moments add up to create significant changes in how your brain relates to English. As we wrap up today's episode, I want you to remember something really important. Training your brain to think in English isn't a destination, it's a journey. Every time you choose to narrate your morning routine in English, every moment you process your emotions in English instead of your native language, every mental conversation you have with yourself in English, you're taking another step forward on this incredible path. The techniques we've explored today, from simple narration to sensory thinking, are tools that will serve you for years to come. But they only work if you use them consistently. Start small, be patient with yourself, and celebrate those little victories along the way. Remember, fluency isn't about perfection. It's about progress. I genuinely believe that thinking in English will transform not just how you speak, but how you experience the language entirely. You have everything you need to make this happen. All it takes is commitment to practicing these techniques day by day, thought by thought. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. If this episode helped you, please hit that like button and subscribe to English with Ease for more episodes that will support your learning journey. I'd love to hear about your experiences with thinking in English, so share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, keep practicing, keep growing, and remember that every English thought is bringing you closer to the fluency you're working toward. Take care, and I'll see you in the next episode.